Malkovich.
Malkovich?
All right, flickers.
Hey.
That's right.
We're back.
Welcome back to Far Out Flicks. I'm Andrew. Wait, who am I? Braden.
And I'm Malkovich. No, I'm Andrew.
Today we're talking about a film, Being John Malkovich.
If you didn't already
one of the most...
guess that.
I hope so.
Yeah. That was a softball. We softballed that one into you.
I'd say this is one of the most far out flicks.
You know, actually, that makes
there.
me the dumbass because, like, to have gotten to this point, they would have read the title of the podcast. So they already know. They know it's Being John Malkovich.
Typically they know, but, you know, whatever.
Maybe you stumbled upon somebody else listening to it. Oh, yeah. Weekly reminder. Watch the movie first, unless you want stuff to be spoiled.
You want to watch this one. I'm just going to say some of them you can miss. Watch this one.
Yeah, give it some praise, Braden. Hype man. Hype it up.
Fucking... Okay, so this is one of the films that made me into Far Out flicks. I watched this over and over in high school. I had it on VHS. For some reason, this film, I was just drawn to it. I didn't even know who John Malkovich was. I knew he played Linian of Mice and Men, okay? Classic performance. Love of Mice and Men.
It's such a sad fucking book/movie.
Fuck, he kills the bunny and then he kills the woman, right? Spoiler alert.
Yeah, we're supposed to not spoil things.
If you did not read that in 9th grade, you're unlikely to read that now. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah, so Lenny with his, toxic Avenger tier strength killed a bunny rabbit and woman trying to, love them to death. Just to go ahead and full fucking spoil of Mice and Men if you haven't, for whatever reason, read or seen it. George kills Lenny. He gives him the mercy bullet.
So if you don't know who John Malkovich is, or if you only know him from Being John Malkovich, just YouTube the scene where he kills the woman. It's terrifying.
I haven't seen that. That is all new to me.
Dude, he's amazing. They'd mention it in the Being John Malkovich, actually. Even though every person on the street keeps saying, yeah, you were good in that Jewel Thief movie, which, and his reply is always like, I wasn't in a Jewel Thief movie. He's one of those actors that you've seen, but he's never quite, even though he's always been critically acclaimed, I don't know that he ever had the mainstream exposure of, say, a Tom Cruise or a Daniel Day-Lewis even.
It's because he's bald. And as a fellow bald man, I think that needs to be addressed. We're always portrayed as the villains. Lex Luthor, Darth Vader with all of his hairless, burned head. Fucking always bald.
That's true. You got Baron Harkonnen. You got Kurtz from Apocalypse Now. Several of the villains in season 3 of Far Out Flicks have been bald.
It's true, but
I consider Andrew the villain of this podcast, by the way.
Fucking good.
If anyone's gonna turn evil, it's definitely him.
Dude,
do you think it's because they just start resenting the world?
I think I'm lawful
because of their
evil,
baldness.
Like on the little whatever that fucking chart is.
The D&D chart?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. That's the chart.
Something like that.
So I will accept your challenge, and I will become the villain of this podcast.
Oh boy. But yeah, this movie kicks ass.
Oh, I was going to say we do have Sir Patrick Stewart, though, which is nice.
Oh, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
He's typically a good guy. Then we also have Ben Kingsley. He's not usually a bad guy. There's not that many.
We have the Silver Surfer, who's sometimes a bad guy.
The one superhero Marvel hasn't figured out a way to exploit in the MCU.
Yeah.
Which I hate, by the way. I'm just going to say it. I don't care if that turns off some of our fans.
It's going to piss so many people
I side with
off.
Scorsese. I don't care. In that debate.
I like some Marvel movies. I think that they got overdone in a quick succession because of the success of other ones, and like maybe we didn't need as much Marvel as we've gotten. But whatever, they all make like $1 billion fucking dollars. Like Marvel and Disney are laughing their happy ass to the banks.
While the Toxic Avenger made diddly squat. I'm just gonna go say, go watch the Toxic Avenger if you haven't seen that one yet. It's on YouTube, people.
Dude, I guarantee you there's like Marvel merchandise, like a singular item from a catalog that has pulled home more income than Toxic Avenger has.
Like a fucking Iron Man keychain or something.
Dude, has outsold unfortunately, all of the good people at Troma's works. And it's a travesty. You're right, it's a travesty.
I did want to give a shout out to this TV show I've been watching this last week. It's called Severance, and it's on Apple TV.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're into Charlie Kaufman, being John Malkovich, adaptation, Philip K. Dick stuff, it draws widely on those, and it's phenomenally good. And it's got John Turturro, Christopher Walken. It's directed by Ben Stiller, and it's phenomenally good. And I can't really say anything else without spoiling it, but get a free trial of Apple TV and watch that shit in a week and then cancel it immediately because I don't think there's anything else good on there. When you watch it, though, if you work for a corporation or in a corporate environment, you might feel slightly a wee bit depressed.
Oh, this is the one where their like personalities like halved, right? And they got like work them and home them.
Correct. And they call them innies and outies. This doesn't spoil anything. You learn this very quickly, but phenomenally good.
Mm.
And if you're a fan of this movie or again adaptation or any of that stuff, this will be right up your alley. Did you follow your plan? Did you order the DVD of Being John Malkovich?
No, I did not.
You fucking liar.
I know it. It's because, dude, it was like the cheapest one was like $10 or whatever. I was really hoping that,
Oh, damn. Yeah, that's kind of they're almost antiques at this. They're collectible at this point.
Yeah, dude. If you go to the right Walmart, there's a Being John Malkovich sitting in the $5 and under bin right now. I guarantee it.
Anyway, let's get to the Being John Malkovich. So we've already done one film by Charlie Kaufman and directed by Spike Jonze. That was adaptation.
It was.
Go back and listen and watch that one. A little background on Spike Jonze. He started off being a photographer for skateboarding magazines and then later became like a very in-demand music video director of the 90s. He did Beastie Boys' Sabotage, which is a super fun one. Ween's Freedom of 76. Did you know that was him?
I didn't, but God, do I love Ween.
Freedom of the body. Freedom of the mind. And a bunch of other good ones. Fatboy Slim.
That's pretty
Praised
good.
You.
That's good, Braden.
Hey, man, we might have to break that out in our live shows if we ever do that.
Yep. Fatboy Slim?
So,
what
yeah.
about Fatboy Slim?
Praise You Like I Should. You remember that music video?
Fuck
it was
yeah.
One of the funnier. I mean, they have a lot. Fatboy Slim was known more for their music videos than the actual music, I would say. The Christopher Walken dancing one. I don't think that was Spike Jonze, but that was amazing.
That was amazing. Yeah, man. God, just hit me in all the right nostalgia points there, talking about those music videos.
Well, the music videos are gone now. Now it's just like people with big booty chicks dancing. I don't even know what music videos look like now.
I for sure saw a music video with Lil Nas X giving like the devil a lap dance.
Oh, yeah. I support him just for upsetting people.
He upset a lot of people with that. That was
I like
that shocked the sensibilities of
I like
people.
The upsetters of this world. I don't care what he is about, really. I just like that he pissed people off with that. I support it.
All right.
Charlie Kaufman also is known for creating some of the best screenplays of the last fucking 50 years, basically. We did adaptation. Also got Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which might be his most popular one, which I know Andrew has an opinions about.
I don't dislike it as a movie. I just think
That's opposite of what you said earlier.
just do you know how many fucking Tinder profiles I have seen with people referencing that movie?
That tells me that she's cool. She has potential to be cool. That's the gateway drug. That's the marijuana to the heroin of being John Malkovich in Synecdoche, New York.
You do realize that gateway drugs are traditionally viewed as bad things, right? Like that's traditionally something that would be considered.
We're not endorsing drugs here. But we are endorsing Far Out Flicks. No, I support it. I mean, that is the gateway.
It is.
Okay?
It's a good movie. It's a good movie. I prefaced that statement by saying it, but god damn it, like it's not original to like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Like I just want the world to hear that. It doesn't make you original to like that. It's a very likable movie. And
It's better than them saying they like The Notebook or some shit like that.
I have
more cool
literally
points.
never seen a Tinder profile where somebody was like, favorite movie, The Notebook. Well, that's probably not true. Fuck, I'm probably lying.
But Synecdoche, New York, and I know you said you haven't seen that. Watch that. I think it's like Philip Seymour Hoffman's masterpiece. It's fucking great.
I've heard a bunch of people say that about Philip Seymour Hoffman. Like it is kind of his magnum opus. So I will watch it. I will.
It's so good. Love Philip Seymour Hoffman.
I feel like this is the director that I have like the least knowledge bank for out of anyone we've done.
Spike Jonze or the screenwriter Charlie Kaufman?
Yeah, sorry, you're right. Screenwriter, not director.
Well, actually, his first film that he directed was Synecdoche, New York, and I think that's why it didn't land quite as well. The screenplay is awesome, but the films he directs seem to drag a little bit. Like the pacing, it's a long movie that's kind of depressing, but that was his take on a horror film. I guess somehow he got the idea he was going to make a horror film, and then his weird, like, pretentious, artistic mind was like, oh, I'm going to make it about the horror of, like, fucking just death and the futility of human existence.
Yeah, and I guess maybe that's, like, some of my... Because I do like this movie. I like all the movies we just referenced, but there's something about like there being a pretension to art in general that I just like I have this knee-jerk kick against, and like maybe that's part of my hesitancy.
That's fair. I don't think, but being John Malkovich does not take itself too seriously.
No, and I'm not trying to say that about this film or
also,
anybody or any film involved, but
it's freaking mind-bending stuff. I mean, it's like the modern day Philip K. Dick, you know. It's cool shit. It definitely gets you thinking a little bit.
Sure. I like pretty much anything that Philip K. Dick's had that's been remade, you know, in the 21st century. Or
I did not watch Minority Report.
What about?
Because I hate Tom Cruise.
I hate Tom Cruise too. That's okay. But I did see it as a kid.
That kind of we got to tie in there. This film was almost being Tom Cruise because the script got kicked around for years, and multiple people were like, "Why don't you get Tom Cruise? Why has it got to be John Malkovich?"
Yeah, I think it was Robert Shea who like famously said like, "Why the fuck can't it be being Tom Cruise?"
Of New Line Cinema. And then the next day after he said that, they dropped the film. And even John Malkovich was like, you guys should really get Tom Cruise for this. Which, dude, the idea of being Tom Cruise going into a portal in his mind, that is terrifying. That's a horror movie. Just throw that out there.
Yeah.
That dude's fucked. There is a compilation, I will post it on our Facebook page, but there's a compilation of him just laughing maniacally for 9 minutes. Laughing maniacally.
How long are each like little bit of the compilation? Is it like...
It's a good question.
Because if it's just like a couple seconds of maniacal laughter, but it's all just stitched together for 9 minutes, like, how maniacal is it?
It tells you how often he laughs maniacally.
He's in the spotlight
and
a
you've
lot.
seen the Scientology interview, right? Where he's going on about all his Scientology buzzwords and how he knows that he's the only person who could save the world, and he's actually been deified within Scientology.
I know. It's all pretty wild.
I don't want the Squirrel Busters to come after me, but
Tom Cruise
that shit's
is a living
nutty,
god.
bro. I don't want to know what it's like to be Tom Cruise.
Was he a Scientologist
anyway.
at this point?
Oh, are you fucking kidding me?
I don't know the timelines of these
There
things.
Dude, he's deified. There's no turning back. I don't think Scientology can end without a mass suicide at this point. They've gone too far. Like, once you've dedicated 30-some years of your life to something, to acknowledge that was all a lie, it's going to end like a Jonestown, Heaven's Gate kind of, and I genuinely think that could happen during our lifetime.
We're going to get sued.
Now, I have noticed that most of these suicide cults that just fall apart and they all kill themselves, it happens during that first generation. Scientology is a second generation cult. They got past L. Ron Hubbard. Now they're on Ron Miskovich. And I think maybe he's the same age as Tom Cruise. So unless he dies, I could definitely see Tom Cruise being the next leader of Scientology.
Ascending to the Scientology papacy, basically?
Basically. I think with the internet, though, that's like a dying cult because there's just too much information out there now.
Dude, they've done...
Too many defectors.
They've done a lot to minimize that information, whatever it may be.
Anyway, this isn't being Tom Cruise. This is being John Malkovich. They actually, Charlie Kaufman basically said that part of the reason he was just stuck on John Malkovich playing the part is because Malkovich has such a nice ring to it. Whereas Cruise, it just doesn't fucking work for me.
They could have done Tom. That would have been
I did read a rumor, it's a rumor, unsubstantiated, that if John Malkovich turned it down, it was going to be being Steve Buscemi, which I'm on board with that.
I would have accepted and loved that just as much.
Oh, possibly even more, to be totally honest.
Malkovich does have a good ring about it, though. Being John Malkovich, it just, like, it works. And maybe it works because it is, but, like, I think it works.
It works very well. And he also is, like, an enigmatic kind of person, you know?
Yeah. I couldn't really tell you much about his personality. I feel like he's been kind of guarded from the public light.
Yes, which I think keeps him enigmatic. And actually, he didn't want to do the movie. I got a quote here from him saying, either the movie's a bomb and it's got not only my name above the title, but my name in the title, so I'm fucked that way. Or it does well and I'm just forever associated with this character. Which I would kind of say the latter to some degree, you know.
But even...
He's not remembered for Con Air. He's remembered for this.
I remember that he was in Con Air, though.
Sure. He's not remembered for his portrayal of Lenny as much as this film that, again, has his name all over.
And here you are talking about Lenny, man. But you're right. This movie is very well known.
He also said when he read the script, he was horrified. And his first thought was that maybe he had offended this Kaufman fellow in some way. And that this was revenge against him.
Wild.
Another tie-in, another Farrell Flicks tie-in. This script was getting kicked around for years. Everyone thought it was unproducible, unfilmable. And it was finally Francis Ford Coppola. It found Francis Ford Coppola, and Spike Jonze is actually his son-in-law at that time. Was married to his daughter Sofia Coppola. So he kind of had Spike Jonze in mind. So he's the one who gave it to Spike Jonze, who loved it. And also, Francis Ford Coppola personally contacted John Malkovich and was like, yeah, there's a weird screenplay about you.
It's a weird conversation.
I hope no one ever like makes like weird fan stories about me and Andrew.
I mean,
That'd be disturbing.
that would mean we had some serious fans. So
I don't want to feel like my life's in danger.
you don't want
Some
somebody
fanatic.
else to wear your fucking skin.
Yes. So, anyway, there's all of that, which is kind of the fun stuff. And yes, the film got made. This was Spike Jonze's. This is what made him a big name. And I think later on he like co-created Jackass, made Where the Wild Things Are. He went and did some other cool stuff as well.
He did. Although Where the Wild Things Are was
Kind of a flop.
it was at least in the box office.
Well, what happened was he took a book was written for children and made a movie that's made for adults. That's all about depression and existential crisis, which that doesn't really resonate with the children as much.
Yeah, I remember seeing it. Really, really hoping it was going to be something different.
Like fun.
Yeah, fun.
A fun romp.
And it wasn't a fun romp. And that ruined the evening.
that wasn't a great date.
No, it was not. It was... It wasn't a fun, little voyage back into my childhood. It was a bleak, grim reflection of the worst parts of adulthood with a potential mate with me. Ugh, bad.
That's bad. I like how you call them mates. That's just dehumanizing enough that
I thought it was very scientific.
Yeah, I had a potential reproductive partner with me, but fair to say we did not copulate on that night.
Oh, man.
Oh, boy. All right, so let's get into this fucking movie.
No, I
being
think
John Malkovich. Like, one of the weirdest movies I've ever seen.
So let's do a cast run through before we get into it. Let's get that knocked out of the way. So we've got John Cusack is kind of our main character, I guess. One of our main characters. Craig, who is a floundering puppeteer. He is,
You already know it's getting weird when the main character is a floundering puppeteer.
Dude, that's just straight suicide fuel. Like,
that's bad. I mean, good on him for following his dream, but at a certain point, is he just avoiding getting a job, or what's happening? You know what I'm saying? One of the best, and right at the beginning, it's him telling his wife. She's like, maybe you should just get a real job. He's like, it's a wintry economic climate for puppeteers right now, honey. And he just looks like he doesn't bathe himself and has long hair, nearly unrecognizable from the John Cusack of like that we all know and love from those other shitty movies.
He's so handsome.
Yeah, who could resist the charm of a good old John Cusack?
Not me.
Then we got his wife, played by Cameron Diaz.
Lottie.
Her name's Lottie in the film.
Yep.
Lottie. She's also unrecognizable. They made them as repulsive and unattractive as possible.
Yeah, they did.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, they did like the It's Always Sunny thing where they just like make people as unattractive as they can. I think actually like one of the head of the makeup department said it was like difficult to make Cameron Diaz look homely, which I believe because I mean Cameron Diaz was certainly my crush when this movie came out, which was 1999.
Yep. Throw that out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she looks so different that even the crew did not recognize her when they started shooting at first. That's how unrecognizable she is in this film.
I think I saw it as a kid, like on, like Comedy Central or whatever, and like did not recognize that it was Cameron Diaz. Like straight up through the whole movie.
It's a weird role for her. I'll put it that way. And then, of course, you have John Malkovich playing a fictionalized version of himself, which is fun.
Yeah.
But the movie starts off with Craig, played by John Cusack again. He's playing with his puppets because that's what he does in his free time. Which, yeah, I mean, if that's not a red flag for someone who might be suicidal, I don't know what is.
And they are marionettes, to be clear. I really want to paint the picture for the audience.
You're right.
They
right.
are marionettes.
They're not hand puppets.
They are marionettes, which are still creepy and weird.
I think they're more creepy and weird.
Well,
in a lot of ways.
I mean, having your hand fully up something's asshole and fucking working its mouth is pretty weird as well. But whatever. Puppets are weird in general. I don't like puppets.
It's definitely weird when a guy makes puppets of himself and everyone he knows. Like, if I found out you had a collection of puppets and I was one of your puppets, I would probably end our friendship.
You would be rightfully upset.
I would be upset.
That's fair. I don't.
If I found out anyone had a puppet of me and was doing weird stuff to it, I mean, I'd be flattered at first. But then I'd have to just reconcile that with the fact that it's creepy as fuck.
Yeah, it's fucking weird. You get your ass kicked doing something like that.
And then one of the opening scenes, he's a street performer with his puppets, and he's like doing this very kind of serious play that he has written, apparently, where the puppets are like, one's in one room, there's another one in the other room, the woman, and they're like start humping the wall. And it's a very kind of serious moment. But this man and his daughter are watching, and the girl's like horrified. And then when the father notices, he just punches Craig's lights out. He's like, "You sick fuck."
I mean,
pretty fun.
It's what you get for being a puppeteer, man.
It's a hard life that he sacrifices for his art.
I love puppets. Fucking like Dark Crystal and shit. Fucking Jim Henson.
Yes,
that's my shit.
Jim Henson, huge Jim Henson fan. I think we should probably do like Labyrinth or Dark Crystal at one point as a far out flick, easily.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are like fun, lighthearted puppets. These are like weird, creepy. Like he makes his people he knows into puppets.
These puppets are sad. There is no way to think of them as anything else.
They're sad.
Other than
they are
sad
and creepy. It's not a good look.
His source of income is fucking doing weird fucking puppets on the street.
So he goes home and shows his wife, Cameron Diaz, that he got punched in the face, and she just says, "Oh, honey, not again." But yeah, Cameron Diaz's character, Lottie, she's like an animal hoarder, so their entire apartment is just full of animals and animal cages and birds, and there's a chimpanzee named Elijah who wears a diaper. So that's pretty fun. And then she starts talking about how Elijah, the chimpanzee, is seeing a therapist and has feelings of inadequacy as a chimp. Which I'll just throw out there. I once had a girlfriend who took her cat to a pet psychic, and I broke up with her literally over that. That was like a contributing factor. It's outside of my comfort zone in a relationship.
I mean, I don't fault you for it.
I fault her for it.
Yeah, I mean, clearly.
So Craig's puppet career is not taking off. He finally decides to get a real job. So he applies for a filing clerk position, which that sounds not that fun. I get it. Playing with dolls is probably more fun than filing stuff.
Filing is probably terrible. It's all you do.
So he goes to this company called Lester Corp, and the company is on the 7.5th floor. So already you're like, all right, this shit's getting a little nutty. To get on that floor, you have to hit the emergency stop and pry open the door of the elevator with a crowbar. And the ceiling of this floor is very short because it's a half floor. And we find out during this kind of orientation video that the builder built it for his wife, who was a little person, which that's pretty sweet because he wanted to make her feel comfortable.
That is sweet.
That's fun. That's fun.
At the expense of every other living being that ever enters that floor. Yes.
Everyone else has back problems.
As a taller person, that is my hell. It's just being like stuck working
Hunched
on
over.
a floor that's like 5 feet tall or whatever.
At that point, you get a rolly chair and you just roll everywhere.
That's actually a pretty good idea. That is the solution.
That's the move. That's definitely the move. I still feel like I'd feel claustrophobic.
Oh yeah, dude. There's so many like violations there. People can't work in that. It's a confined space.
You're just not inclusive, Andrew. And I've had this criticism of you since day one.
I am very inclusive. I'm trying not to exclude normal-sized people.
Oh boy, you're just digging yourself deeper,
Yeah,
Andrew.
you gotta cut that out, dude.
We're not cutting that out. We find the interview process is a little weird. The boss of this company is named Lester. He's the boss of Lester Corp. And we learn that he is 105, which he attributes to drinking carrot juice.
Hey,
And he looks quite healthy for a 105-year-old.
I'll give him that. 105
yeah,
is old.
I mean,
That's
I
like
don't-
Crypt Keeper status.
The reason I don't want to be that old is because I think the quality of life will be severely diminished. But if I'm as healthy as him, why the fuck not?
Yeah. If you can still...
And he's just like a horny old man who just keeps creeping on the secretary.
Mm.
It's just kind of fun.
I guess if you're at 100, your inhibitions are pretty out the window.
Yeah. I mean, it's like what we were talking about in a couple episodes ago with Bill Murray and like how you give old people a pass sometimes. You don't press charges. They don't know what they're doing. You got to milk that for everything it's worth at that age.
If you're 100, I say go for it.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Pull it out.
So anyways, Dr. Lester.
Dr. Lester. And yeah, and actually he invites Craig out. He starts telling Craig all his sexual fantasies, and Craig's like, I don't know if this is appropriate for the workplace. And Lester's like, you know what? You're right. Let's meet at this bar at 7 p.m. after work, and I'll tell you all about it. And everything he says is weird. He's talking about how at one point he says his spunk is manna from heaven.
I respect that stance. I respect it.
I try to be humble, but, you know. Oh, boy. Should have been, if that's true, I should have been bottling that up and selling it all these years.
Butter's creamy goo.
So at a certain point, we're introduced to a coworker of Craig's called Maxine, who was played by Catherine Keener.
Mm-hmm.
And she's kind of this like domineering, like sexy lady, right?
She's a sexy yuppie.
Yeah, and she knows she's sexy and just kind of doesn't tolerate any of his bullshit. She tells him, even if you got me, you wouldn't know what to do with me, and just kind of manipulates him every step of the way. Power hungry lady. But he does get her to meet him at the bar. And when he tells her he's a puppeteer, she just goes, check, please. It's a hard life out there for these puppeteers.
Dude,
bro.
it is.
Oh, man. Yeah. But he goes home that night and he makes a doll of her. And that's when we find out like how depraved this sicko really is.
Yeah, Craig's not a normal guy. He's not... I mean, he is sort of our protagonist, but it's not like he's a fucking, knight in shining armor. This guy is more or less just who we're observing through the course of the film.
Everyone in the movie is a terrible person, basically, except for possibly John Malkovich himself.
Yeah, pretty much. Lottie's not bad. She's not terrible.
But they're all like...
Flawed, perhaps.
They're all flawed, and they're all kind of It's almost like Craig and Lottie are in that relationship because like things didn't work out for them. You know, neither of them are like passionately in love with each other, which we learn later.
Mm-hmm.
And they try to hop out of the relationship at their first chance to get. Spoiler alert.
Spoiled.
But yeah, and he also has a puppet of himself, and he's just playing with them, and he acts out like their date as he would have hoped it would have gone. And it's a little sad because you see Lottie's doll hanging on the shelf, like he's put her away. He's done with her.
Yeah, where does this fucking puppeteer get off thinking he can fucking just put a woman on the back burner? Like, he should be kissing the ground she walks upon.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, maybe he didn't know she was going to be an animal hoarder when they got together.
Dude, even if they had to dump a bucket of pig's blood on Cameron Diaz to make her look unattractive, he's a goddamn puppeteer getting his ass kicked on the street corner. Like,
exactly. He's not in a position to be too picky.
No.
Is that what you're getting at?
Yes, precisely. Yeah.
He definitely is not.
Something about puppeteers is just bringing rage out of me right now.
I think that's fair. I mean, they are definitely worse than mimes. Can we agree on that?
I think so. It's a close one, though. God, mimes are fucking insufferable, too.
At least a puppeteer can't really touch you with his puppet. But
I mean, they absolutely can.
Especially if you're asleep. Oh boy, getting weird.
Yeah. Anyways, enough about my hatred of puppeteers.
I mean, as an art form, I kind of get it.
I do love puppeteers. Again, it's just this kind. It's
the marionettes.
Doing creepy
it's the little
puppet
wooden
shit.
marionettes.
Yeah, doing weird puppet stuff.
It's the idea that he's making puppets out of everyone he knows.
If you're making something fantastic and, you know, magical with puppets, I'm all for it. But if you're doing weird little slice of life shit with like puppets of people you actually know, that's really weird. It's not okay. It's not okay.
I try not to judge, but I'm judging.
I've judged.
And also, he's just kind of a piece of shit because he's just clearly pursuing this other woman that's not his wife, and he's made a puppet out of her. I think we've driven that point home enough. How creepy that is, but
it's real creepy.
it's a hallmark of this character, Craig. So here's where things get really weird. He's at work and he's doing his filing, and he drops a file behind the filing cabinet, and he has to move it out of the way to get the file, and he discovers a little door behind it. And of course, like I would as well, curiosity gets the best of him. He opens the door, and it's a long tunnel. And I would say like the walls of it are like almost organic looking. It looks like an ear canal or something.
Yeah.
Or a throat or something. I don't know. It's strange looking. And it's very short, so all you could do is crawl in it. Well, he crawls in this tunnel. The door slams behind him, and all of a sudden he's looking through John Malkovich's eyes. It's a portal into John Malkovich's brain.
Hence being John Malkovich.
Heyo.
It all makes sense now.
Yeah, so, and it's, you know, you kind of get this tunnel vision effect on the camera, on the screen. You're seeing, and John Malkovich is just doing really mundane stuff. He's eating breakfast. He catches a taxi, has a conversation with the taxi driver. And then all of a sudden, Craig just falls from the sky out of nowhere on the side of the New Jersey Turnpike, and he's all covered with goo.
God, New Jersey Turnpike is pretty much the worst place to go. I mean, like,
I can smell the piss. I can smell it.
Ugh. So, now that we've established that Craig has this access into the viewpoint, I guess, kind of mind of John Malkovich, what's the first thing he decides to do with this newfound knowledge?
He runs back and tells Maxine, of course.
Yeah.
And he's telling her, like, how significant this is and how he's questioning his whole life at this point and how he doesn't think he can continue going on living the way he has up to that point. She doesn't really care, but she does call him later that night and she's like, all right, so there's a portal into John Malkovich's mind. Let's sell tickets for $200 each, which I don't know. I definitely wouldn't do that. I would hoard it all for myself.
I probably would as well.
That's a massive scientific discovery.
Yeah, I mean, is it science or is it magic? I don't know.
So they start selling tickets, basically, more or less.
$200 a pop. That's a steal. I'd pay $200.
This was in the 90s. It was more money then than it is now.
You're right.
Right?
You're right.
I don't know how much more, but
back when $200 could buy you a car and a farm and 50 head of cattle. So anyways, they're selling tickets. People are getting access to the mind of John Malkovich.
They're lining up to be John Malkovich. Lining up. And then, of course, every time they're done with the experience, the 15 minutes, they fall from the sky on the side of the New Jersey Turnpike. Craig picks them up in his little shitty little car. They're all, their minds blown.
Blown. Lottie eventually enters the portal.
And then she really enjoys being inside this man's body and determines that she is trans and really just loves having a dick.
She does. Very ahead of its time, this film.
Definitely. And right when she comes out, she immediately tells Craig, like, that was life-changing. I want to be a man. I'm trans. I have to go back in immediately. Immediately she wants to go back in. She comes to the office, is talking about it, meets Maxine, who's Craig's love interest at work. And Maxine is just kind of like an evil person, right? She's just all about power and manipulation of others.
Money.
And so she knows Lottie's going in. Well, she gets John Malkovich's number, calls him up, and invites him on a date. And it's like a weird attempt to like manipulate Lottie. She essentially fucks John Malkovich while Lottie's inside of him, looking through his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And then they start dating, but only when she's in Malkovich. Maxine makes that very clear. I only like it when you're in Malkovich. And she says she's just a twisted person.
That's a weird thing to tell somebody you're dating.
That's weird. That's probably a red flag.
Yeah. If somebody's only attracted to you when you wear that Sailor Moon outfit, then, you know, that's not good. They should be attracted to you all the time, and the Sailor Moon outfit should just really make it pop.
That should heighten it.
Heighten
maybe, it. In moments. Punctuate it. But yeah, if they want you to dress like that all the time, then maybe they don't really like you.
If all you're allowed to wear is Sailor Moon outfits, you have to get out.
It's concerning. It is concerning. You have to get out. So yeah, they're kind of in love, but only when Lottie's in Malkovich. So it's weird. I don't know if that makes Maxine a lesbian or not, but it seems like her real appeal to it is that she's just manipulating two people at once.
Yeah. Craig being all butthurt that he's been, you know, turned away by now his wife and his hot coworker he was trying to get with.
He goes a little crazy.
Yeah, he loses it and he locks Lottie up.
Yeah, he pulls a gun on her, locks her up in the monkey cage with Elijah, forces her to get on the phone and basically schedule a date with Maxine in Malkovich. And then he goes into Malkovich, so he finally gets to kind of have sex with Maxine through Malkovich. And while he's doing it, he kind of starts to take control, like he speaks through Malkovich.
His puppeteering skills fucking enable him to do it.
Malkovich freaks the fuck out and calls his best friend, Charlie Sheen.
Tiger blood!
Winning! Fuck, I love Charlie Sheen. If it wasn't such a sad outcome.
It is a sad outcome.
It's a sad outcome. But man, he was entertaining for those like 3 months. Holy crap.
Yeah, the the brightest flames burn twice as fast, or whatever, man.
It was actually John Malkovich who suggested Charlie Sheen because apparently they're best friends in real life.
Really?
And Charlie Sheen was in rehab when he got the script. Go figure. And he signed on to it without reading it.
He didn't even read it? He was just like, okay, I'll be in it?
Well, he's best friends with Malkovich. I guess he just trusted him, right?
Yeah?
And Malkovich is like, I'm going crazy. Someone tried to, like, control my body. And fucking Sheen says, you're not going crazy, bro. You're just stoned. And then Malkovich says, no, this Maxine lady is using me to channel some dead lesbian lover. And Charlie Sheen's like, that's hot. He's like, she could be a witch or something. And Charlie Sheen's like, hot lesbian witch is even better, man. Which I get it. There is some kinkiness there. I mean, you know what they say about the crazy ones.
I think witches are pretty crazy. Hot. Something about,
I don't know. I'm glad that one of us has that opinion because I'm annoyed with all these freaking white girls trying to be witches.
Well, see, I think in my head I have like Bewitched rolling around, or like
sure,
or like even like the hot gothic chick from Blair Witch Project 2, maybe her. But like in reality, yeah, it's the offerings.
There's too many girls trying to be witches on Facebook and Instagram now. It's a turnoff for me. It's like, can you get a real personality? I know that's controversial. I know some of.
Well, that's I guess what I'm saying is I don't want to deal with all the New Age Wicca shit. I just would prefer if they had a broom that they could fly, and perhaps a cauldron that they boiled children in, and a fucking black cat. Like that would be cool.
That's cool.
Anime witch. How about anime witch? Anime witch waifu.
There you go.
Yeah.
An anime witch waifu.
Yeah, not fucking, pagan, blood orgy witch. That's not what I'm looking for. As opposed to
They're LARPing.
They're LARPing.
They are LARPing, and, I mean, more power to them. Okay?
All right, well, regardless, Charlie Sheen is right. It would be hot.
It's fun for, like, one time.
Unless they just, like, straight drain you like a Capri Sun. Only I could be so lucky.
So Malkovich, he's got to know the truth. He starts following Maxine around. He wants to know what the fuck is going on. And she's been calling him Lottie. So he was down for the kinky, weird stuff until it got real weird and creepy. Which, I get it. I mean, it's kind of fun at first. And he finds the 7.5 floor. He confronts Craig and Maxine as there's people lined up to go inside of him, which that's a weird sentence. And he asked one of them...
Lines around the block, fellas. Keep on walking.
They're running a train on his mind. He asked one of the fellows in the line what they're doing. He's like, yeah, we're going to go inside John Malkovich.
So John Malkovich's face.
Craig and Maxine. He insists he's going in. He insists he's going to go in. And this is one of the best scenes of the movie. Craig asks, like, what happens when a man goes through his own portal? And that's a good question. We find out. He goes inside. John Malkovich goes inside his own portal, and then he's in this fucked up hellscape of John Malkovich's.
Where every single person is just a Malkovich.
Has his head.
And all that they can say... Yeah, they have different bodies, but just the head.
Which makes it even weirder. There's like big-titted women with his head.
It's kind of like that Apex Twin music video. Window Licker.
I'm not familiar with that.
Oh, treat yourself.
Sounds like they might have ripped it off from this movie.
You're right. Yeah, this definitely came first.
But yeah, everyone's just saying Malkovich, Malkovich. Malkovich, Malkovich.
Malkovich, Malkovich, Malkovich.
Again, cruise. It just wouldn't. It
doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound as good.
And then there's like a lounge singer laying on a piano in this tight dress. Malkovich. Yeah. It gets weird. It gets way weird. And he ends up running through the crowd, pushing his way through the crowd of Malkoviches. Then next thing you know, he falls from the sky on the side of the New Jersey Turnpike. And he says, I have been to the dark side. I've seen things no man should see. And then he demands to Craig that it needs to be sealed and that he'll see him in court. To which Craig replies, and I'll be seeing what you're seeing in court.
It's a good quip. Big win for the puppet man.
And then to add insult to injury, a car drives by and a drunk guy screams out the window, "Hey, Malkovich, think fast," and throws a can of beer at his head.
Lovely.
So Craig's having kind of an existential crisis at this point. He goes home and he's like, what have I become? I've got my wife in a cage with a monkey because he's still keeping her hostage. He is so obsessed with Maxine that he has made his own wife his hostage now.
In a cage with the chimp. And if we're being honest, there's just no way that she would survive that.
No, her face would be ripped off. Or she'd be like humped to death or something.
I was going to say humped to death. I was going to say the same thing.
What is up with these large-brained animals just fucking humans to death? You get dolphins do it, chimpanzees, probably gorillas.
Gorillas have smaller penises than men, but they are much, much stronger. So, you know.
Interesting.
Get fucked and have your arms ripped off at the same time. That's truly a nightmare.
It's a fun image. But yeah, at this point you were thinking maybe Craig's going to free Lottie. No. He forces her at gunpoint to call Maxine again and arrange another date. She gets free, calls Maxine, tells her everything that's going on. It's actually been Craig inside Malkovich this whole time. Maxine doesn't give a shit. She's just like, oh, well, I've got to go meet him now.
She thinks it's hot that he's controlling him, you know.
Yes. And I was kind of thinking when I was watching it, it occurred to me, Maxine is also like a weird puppeteer. Like, she's controlling all these people and manipulating them as well.
Ah.
Hey. So she meets Malkovich, and Craig is finally able to take full control over him. And he's not kicked out of his body anymore. And now he is in Malkovich all the time.
He's living the life of Malkovich.
He's living the life of Malkovich.
And what does he decide to do with his newfound Malkovich capabilities? Does he, A, make a bunch of really good movies? Does he, B, use his fame for personal sexual gain?
Or C, play with more dolls?
Or C, does he ruin John Malkovich's career by turning him into... Well, he doesn't, because it's a big success, right? And like,
it's a big success.
But he makes John Malkovich into a goddamn puppeteer.
It's weird. It gets weird.
I think that's like a cool commentary that, like, you know, you can be masterfully good and passionate about something, but that, you know, sometimes it's just who you are is really what spells out the success. And that, like, if you come from some kind of established success, whether it be your own in another aspect of media or art or the lineage of somebody, like, you know, that could just be the only difference between you and some other perceived great artist.
No, you nailed it. I mean, if I was to go make a Jackson Pollock painting tonight, I don't think anyone's going to buy it.
No.
Just a guess.
I make a Jackson Pollock painting every night. Oh, sorry. I couldn't help myself.
Wait, what? Did you just say...
I was talking about cum.
I thought you were talking about shit, because that's kind of Jackson Pollock's.
It could be, too. It's just general body viscera.
Yeah, but if you're a famous artist who makes a painting out of your own semen, that's brave. Dude, but when I do it, piece. I'm a creep. When I do it, I need help.
Oh.
Fuck, you know? So there's that.
Yeah. That's the first time I was institutionalized.
Right. So, and Lottie goes. So we kind of skipped over this before, but Lottie and Craig at one point go to Lester, the head of Lester Corp's house. They're having dinner with him. She needs to use the restroom and finds a secret John Malkovich fucking room that's like a shrine to John Malkovich with these photos of him growing up. It's a whole room dedicated to John Malkovich. So at this point, she goes and seeks out Lester, and she's like, what the fuck is going on? She tells him, I'm obsessed with John Malkovich. I feel like you're going to understand. I saw that room. What's happening? Is there a connection here? Which it turns out there is. Because at this point, Lester explains that he's a weird... I don't know. How would you explain what is going on here? It's a little
He's
Heaven's
like a
Gate-y.
magician or some shit, and he's fucking found a portal that allows him to just live forever by jumping into somebody else's body before...
And he calls them vessels.
The vessels. Before
Which is very much reminiscent of Heaven's Gate, which only happened like a couple years before this movie came out. Which...
fresh on the American conscience.
But I think the film was written before the Heaven's Gate suicide cult.
Well, they
killed
can always
themselves.
ad-lib. Who knows?
Well, exactly. And I think they were probably in the public consciousness maybe to some degree. But
Yeah, they'd existed before their mass suicide, you know?
Right. Which that's fun. If you don't know about Heaven's Gate, check it out. And also, honestly,
baby.
Lester kind of looks like the dude from Heaven's Gate. I forget what his name is off the top of my head.
Something Applewhite. Fucking.
Oh, yeah. Marshall Applewhite.
Marshall Applewhite. Fucking dough, dude.
Yep.
Teen dough.
So, yeah, they've been preparing John Malkovich as the next vessel they're going to jump into. And his goal is to live forever by hopping from vessel to vessel.
Which he's been doing so far.
And he's also a puppeteer of sorts, where he has figured out how to take control of the vessel person.
Much
and
like
then
Craig
he kind
has, sort of.
He reveals they both have.
Yeah.
And he reveals that he's got a whole house full of just old people. It's like a weird senior citizen home up in there. And they're all planning on going into Malkovich so they can live forever. Which that part kind of confused me because, again, like I can see how one person can control him, but they're all going to go in him. Some of them are just going to be passive observers, or
maybe they take turns. I think the ending, it's explained what the outcome is a little bit more defined than that. But it's like their consciousness.
They mind meld or something.
They fucking
right?
they turn into a system. Like that big fucking fungi that's got like a root like system that's fucking
mycelium.
Yeah.
Nice.
But like with people's consciousness. So mind meld.
Sounds
it's fucking far out if nothing else.
It's definitely far out if nothing else.
Yeah.
They also revealed that they have to go into Malkovich by his 44th birthday. That's when he will become quote unquote ripe. And they must go in by midnight or they will be sent into an infant's body and they will be absorbed, trapped inside without control, and just forced to watch the world through that baby's eyes as it grows up.
It could be worse. There's worse fucking outcomes, I guess. But yeah, it doesn't sound that cool.
So we go like years into the future at this point. There's some jumps. But at one point, Maxine asked Craig to do a puppet show with Malkovich in his body. And there's a really cool dance scene where he smashes he actually does the dance he was doing earlier with the marionette. And yeah, the fucking puppet stuff gets a little cool at this point. Because he's got John Malkovich doing these massive, like, life-size human puppets. Dancing Swan Lake and stuff. Pulling these crazy levers. That looks it is impressive. The puppetry is impressive. It's all the weird stuff he does at home when no one's watching with the puppets that's weird.
Again, I don't hate all puppeteers, but like weird puppeteers.
I love Jim Henson.
Yeah, same.
Love him.
Same.
Love him.
Same.
Love him.
Same.
It's the best part of the Star Wars franchise is the puppets.
You're not wrong. And then that fucking bastard, George Lucas, had to go.
If I want to make Andrew angry, all I have to mention is George Lucas's CGI that he put in after the fact.
Dude, don't even get me started. It's grotesque. It's grotesque that he would do that. Especially because he was like opposed to the altering of films for historical purposes prior to that earlier in his career. And then he decided to...
Really?
Yeah,
That's what he said?
He literally was
of an
outspoken about it. Yes.
Wow.
Yep. Anyways.
Yeah, I feel like there might have been a South Park episode or something about that, but he must.
Yeah, where they
stopped.
literally rape Indiana Jones.
Oh my god, it's so funny. It's just so funny. But yeah, so then at a certain point, Lottie pulls a gun on Maxine and says, "If I can't have you, no one will." She chases her into the portal. Then we get a cool scene where they're running through these different rooms of John Malkovich's subconscious, which I feel like there's a scene in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind that's very reminiscent of this, where they're like reliving his darkest, most repressed memories.
Mm-hmm.
But in Malkovich's subconscious, like at one point in one of the rooms, it's just a little kid Malkovich just repeating, "I am bad, I am bad, I am bad," and rocking.
It's a terrible memory. Terrible memory.
There's another one where a date's calling him creepy. One of the rooms is him on a school bus, and he's pissed his pants, and all the kids are chanting, "Little Johnny Malco P, little Johnny Malco P," which is kind of fun.
It is.
It's fun.
It's a pretty standard list of horrible moments.
Oh yeah, we all have them. Deep. I have absolutely repressed them all, but
I don't have any, and I refuse to hear otherwise.
Your subconscious is the darkest of all, Andrew. I'm sure of that. Not a doubt in my mind. Oh, Jesus.
The therapist can get that out later.
But yeah, so on the 44th birthday, fucking Lester and his old gang of old people, they kidnap Maxine with Lottie's help, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they basically call John Malkovich, who Craig's inside of him now, and they say, "We're going to kill her if you don't leave. We need Malkovich. We need him. And we're going to take control of Malkovich." And fucking Craig is a dumbass, because Maxine never loved him. He should have known this. I would have let them have her. She's kind of a bitch throughout the whole film. He leaves John Malkovich's body and lets them go in him. And then later, Charlie Sheen shows up at the Malkovich's house, and they're all old men. And they invite Charlie Sheen into the next vessel, which is kind of a fun scene. And they also talk about how they're going to invite Gary Sinise as well. Which is just fucking random. And now the room is dedicated to Maxine and Malkovich's daughter, who Maxine claims that she conceived the child while Lottie was in her. It gets a little complicated.
When Lottie was inside of John Malkovich in her.
In him, in her.
Yeah. There we go.
Hopefully you're following
That's
this.
a penis vagina joke if you guys didn't get that one.
Right. Yes. Very good joke, Andrew. And Craig ends up getting trapped inside the daughter, being tortured basically, as he has to watch Maxine and Lottie live out their lives as a lesbian couple. And he's just passively looking through the child's eyes, basically saying, "Look away, look away, look away." And she doesn't do it. He's not able to control her. And that's how the film ends.
That's what he fucking gets.
That is what, I mean, they're all pieces of shit. I don't feel any sympathy for any of them except possibly John Malkovich, who's just a hapless victim of everything.
You're right. He loses his free agency to the system of elderly people that have taken over his brain.
Oh man. And
But does his consciousness come with him when they enter the next system? Or the next vessel?
A good question. I don't.
Charlie Kaufman,
know.
if you hear this for whatever reason, we would
Let us know.
love some insight.
Well, Charlie Kaufman and Spike Jonze have never spoken about the meaning or given any insight into any of this. But Malkovich has talked about it, and I've got a pretty good quote from John Malkovich, the actual actor, on what he thinks the film is about. He says he thinks it's about acting and how it opens the door into the mind of someone else for 15 minutes. And you see the beauty and the fascination and eroticism, even in the most boring things, through their eyes. And then some more just pretentious stuff. But what it's really about...
That's a good answer.
That's a pretty good answer. And then he also goes on to say, but what it's really about is something more sinister. It's the idea that we now lead virtual lives. We live our joys and sorrows and foibles through the lives of public people. Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, anybody? And he says it's about the end of art because art has to take its cue from life. Pretty deep. Pretty deep. Pretty Malkovichian.
On a not deep note, why don't you tell our listeners about the alternative ending?
The alternative ending of the original script had Lester was Satan, and it's a satanic cult. And they're trying to get in John Malkovich's body to take over the world.
Of course they couldn't make it.
Well, this was that, and also it's just an unfilmable thing. But try to follow me here, because this gets real fucking weird. Mm-hmm. Craig reveals to the world that he is using Malkovich as a puppet. So he doesn't pretend to be Malkovich. He tells the world what's happening. And at the end... So he's always, at the beginning of the film, Craig is admiring the one famous puppeteer, the Great Mantini. At the end, he has a puppet off, I guess is what you would call it, against the Great Mantini. And the Great Mantini has a life-size Harry S. Truman puppet. And they have a dance-off for an audience in Las Vegas. And the audience is going to vote for who wins. Flimmer is who Lester really is. He's the guy who's in the vessel of Lester. But he uses his satanic powers to raise the real Harry S. Truman from the grave. And Harry S. Truman convinces the audience to vote for Mantini. Craig, dejected after losing this dance-off of puppets, ends up back with Lottie. But we find out that Craig is actually, there's a portal into Craig, and he's being puppeted by the Great Mantini, who is being puppeted by Lester. So you kind of get this inception of puppets.
And Lester's Satan.
And Lester's Satan. So Satan's controlling the Great Mantini, who is controlling Craig, who reunites with Lottie. And I believe Lottie also marries the chimpanzee at one point. But
so unmakeable.
It went off the rails.
It's pretty
basically.
fun.
It's fun. It definitely went off. I don't know if that doesn't quite put the nice little bow on the package, though.
No, I was just trying to play the movie out with that ending in my head as you were saying it to see if perhaps it connects some other dots, but I don't know if it does.
I don't know. I think it's fun that it's a satanic cult rather than a Heaven's Gate type cult. But,
those are the most fun ones.
Those are. Heck yeah, they sacrifice people. Bohemian Grove. Gets a little fun with those Satanists. They bring a little...
a bunch of cluckaducks, those guys.
Those nutty Satanists.
Well, fuck, that was it. You did it.
That's being John Malkovich. We fucking did it.
Yeah.
That one's far out. It
is probably the weirdest movie we've done, other than maybe Fantastic Planet. Zardoz is weird too.
Zardoz is pretty fucking weird, and I must say,
This thing like won awards, all right? Zardoz didn't, sweep the Academy or anything.
Go watch Zardoz and listen to Zardoz might be on YouTube. It's old enough at this point, but
it's got Sean Connery, R.I.P.
Doesn't quite get enough credit.
It's so weird. There's a Rick and Morty episode based off of it.
It's a cult classic.
Raising Gazorpazorp. It's season 1. If you like that, you should watch the goddamn movie and listen to our podcast on it.
Being John Malkovich is definitely more mainstream than Zardoz, as crazy as that sounds.
Yes, agreed.
I can't
100%.
remember all the episodes we've done. We've done a lot at this point.
Dude, we're getting up there.
Say being John Malkovich is up there in terms of.
But if you guys, the listeners, want us to keep doing more, remember to like, subscribe, comment, share with a friend, send us an email, give us your bank info.
FarOutFlixPodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, what he said, FarOutFlixPodcast@gmail.com.
Give us some suggestions. What do you want to hear? What should we do next week? Eraserhead? Lawnmower Man?
Liked our
2001:
Facebook
A Space Odyssey?
Facebook
Gummo? Gummo?
I really don't want to fucking do Gummo. I think it's...
Serbian film?
Oh, okay, we'll do it.
I love Gummo. I'm just going to throw that out.
I know you love Gummo. I know that you do.
It's fucked up.
It is fucked up.
That makes a man playing with his creepy dolls he's made of his friends look like nothing.
You're right. You're right. It does. Gummo's way more uncomfortable. But anyways,
all
Flickers.
Right, Flickers.
That's been it. That was it.
Fucking, we did it. This has been on the list for a while. Got it out there. Hope you liked it. And see you next time, Flickers.
See you next time.